I'm Abigail Stone, 28, and I thought my birthday party would finally be my moment. I'd spent weeks planning it, ordering a cake with vanilla icing, picking a playlist of upbeat indie tracks, stringing fairy lights across my living room in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I saved for months to make it special, not extravagant, just mine. I imagined laughter, clinking glasses, maybe even a toast to me for once. I'd been grinding as an accountant, paying every bill for the house I bought, the house my family lives in rent-free. I thought maybe today they'd see me. But as the party began, I stood in the middle of the living room trying to keep everything on track. Guests were mingling, coworkers swapping stories about tax season, neighbors nibbling on chips, my parents chatting by the couch. I adjusted the snack table, making sure the plates of sliders and veggie sticks were neat, smiling as I refilled drinks. I was 28 today, and for once I wanted to feel like the center of attention. Then Lindsay walked in, her posture, screaming confidence, clutching a white envelope. My stomach twisted. I knew that look, she was about to steal the show. My mom stood up, her voice sharp and proud. Lindsay has something to share. Every head turned. I gripped a stack of napkins, my smile faltering. Lindsay stepped forward, her eyes gleaming. I got into Stanford's master's program, she said, holding up the letter like it was a crown. Full scholarship. The room burst into chaos. My dad clapped her on the back, shouting, "That's our star." My mom's face lit up as she hugged Lindsay, her laughter louder than the chatter. Guests swarmed, asking about her plans, her professors, her bright future. I stood frozen, napkins still in hand, my role as host slipping away. In minutes, my birthday party was gone. Lindsay's friends flooded in uninvited, their voices drowning out the music I'd chosen. Someone handed Lindsay a portable speaker and she blasted a playlist of her own, all upbeat pop anthems. My dad grabbed a stack of cups and started pouring drinks for her crew, grinning like he was hosting. My mom waved me over, saying, "Can you grab more ice? We're celebrating." Celebrating what? Not me. I forced a nod and headed to the kitchen, my chest tightening with every step. When I came back, Lindsay had taken over completely. She'd grabbed the microphone from the karaoke set I'd rented, launching into a speech about her Stanford journey. "It's a game changer," she said, her voice booming. Guests cheered, some even chanting her name. My parents started a game, some kind of trivia about Stanford's history, passing out mini keychains with the school's logo as prizes. I tried to join in, offering a plate of snacks to a guest, but they barely glanced at me, too busy clapping for Lindsay's answers. I set the plate down, my hands shaking, and stepped back to the edge of the room. Then Lindsay made it worse. She walked to the cake table, my cake, the one I'd spent $200 on, with Happy 28th written in blue icing. Without asking, she grabbed a knife and started cutting slices, handing them out to her friends. To new beginnings, she toasted, raising a piece like it was her party. My mom filmed it on her phone, gushing about how proud she was. My dad joined in, recording a video of Lindsay passing out cake, shouting, "This is going viral." Nobody mentioned my name. Nobody sang happy birthday. I stood there watching my cake disappear. My party erased, my day stolen. I tried to speak up. "Hey, maybe we can do the toast now," I said, my voice barely audible over the music. My mom glanced over, distracted. "Oh, later. Okay, Lindsay's on a roll." My dad didn't even look up from his phone. I felt my throat tighten like I was swallowing glass. I walked to the snack table, pretending to rearrange it, but my hands were trembling. One of Lindsay's friends bumped into me, spilling soda on the cloth. "Oops. My bad," he said, laughing, then turned back to cheer for her. I grabbed a napkin, not to clean it, but to have something to hold onto, something to keep me grounded. My boyfriend was across the room, his eyes locked on me. He tilted his head like he could see the hurt I was hiding. I shook my head, forcing a smile, but inside I was unraveling. I overheard my mom telling a neighbor how Lindsay was destined for greatness, how they'd spent thousands on her test prep. The same mom who, when I bought this house, said I was lucky to have a place for them to stay. My dad bragged about Lindsay's application essays, never mentioning the late nights I spent balancing their bills. I was the one who paid for everything: the mortgage, the utilities, this party, and yet I was invisible. The morning after my birthday, I woke up in my house with a heavy knot in my chest. Last night's party, Lindsay's takeover, the cheers, the complete erasure of my day still burned in my mind. I couldn't let it go. I'd spent years letting my family treat me like an afterthought, and I was done. Sitting at the kitchen table, my coffee untouched, I decided to check something I'd been ignoring for too long. I opened my laptop, logged into my savings account, and felt my heart stop. The balance was off, way off. $20,000, money I'd saved through years of overtime, skipped weekends, and careful budgeting, was gone. I scrolled through the transactions, my hands shaking, my breath shallow. There it was, a transfer dated 3 weeks ago, labeled Lindsay's tuition. My parents had access to my account from ages ago, when I'd added them for emergencies during my first year of college. They'd used it without a word to pay for Lindsay's Stanford program. But it didn't stop there. Smaller withdrawals, $500 here, $200 there, popped up over the past 6 months. Application fees, travel expenses, test prep. All for Lindsay. All without my permission. I slammed the laptop shut, my pulse racing. How could they? I'd paid every bill in this house, the mortgage, the electricity, the groceries, while they lived here rent-free. And they thought they could just take my money. I marched to the living room where my mom was reading a book, her glasses perched on her nose. My dad was flipping through channels on the TV. Lindsay was still asleep, probably dreaming of her Stanford glory. "Did you take $20,000 from my savings?" I asked, my voice low, barely containing the fury. My mom's book dropped to her lap. She didn't look at me. "We needed it for Lindsay's tuition," she said, like it was obvious. "Stanford's a big deal. You know that." My dad muted the TV, his face calm, like I was overreacting. "It's family money, Abigail," he said. "You're doing fine. You've got a good job." Family money, I'd earned every dollar of that, every cent, while they sat back and let me carry their weight. That was my savings, I said, my voice trembling now. "You didn't ask. You didn't even tell me." My mom sighed, like I was being selfish. "Lindsay's future is important," she said. "You want her to succeed, don't you? This is for the family." The family. Always the family. Never me. My dad nodded, adding, "We'll figure out a way to pay you back. Relax. Relax." They'd stolen $20,000 plus thousands more in bits and pieces, and they wanted me to relax. I stood there, my fists clenched, my nails digging into my palms. "You had no right," I said. "That was mine." They didn't apologize. My mom picked up her book again, muttering, "You're making this bigger than it needs to be." My dad turned the TV back on, dismissing me. I walked back to the kitchen, my head spinning, my stomach churning. I reopened my laptop, pulled up every bank statement from the past year. The numbers didn't lie: $6,000 in smaller withdrawals on top of the tuition. Hotel bookings for Lindsay's campus visits, test prep courses, even a new laptop labeled for school. All taken from my account, all without a single conversation. I grabbed my phone and texted my boyfriend. They took $20,000. And more. He called right away, his voice steady but urgent. "That's theft, Abigail," he said. "You need to lock them out of your account and get a lawyer." He was right. I called my bank, changed the account access, and set up 2-factor authentication to keep them out. Then I searched for attorneys in Fort Wayne, finding one who specialized in financial disputes. I sent her an email detailing the unauthorized withdrawals, my parents' access, and my ownership of the house. She responded within an hour, offering to meet tomorrow to discuss legal options. My savings were supposed to be my safety net, my chance to build something for myself. They'd taken that just like they'd taken my birthday. I sat back staring at the screen, my anger hardening into resolve. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect, about my life. I wasn't going to let them take anything else. I was going to take control, starting now. I sat at the kitchen table, morning sunlight streaming through the blinds. My coffee had gone cold, but my resolve was burning. I'd spent enough time being the one who gave in, who paid for everything, who let my family walk over me. Not anymore. I opened my laptop, typed a letter, and hit print. The printer hummed, spitting out 3 crisp pages. I stacked them neatly, set them in the center of the table, and waited. I didn't know what they'd say, but I was ready. This was my line in the sand. My mom walked in first, her slippers shuffling against the floor. She reached for the coffee pot, then stopped, her eyes landing on the papers. "What's this?" she asked, her voice sharp, like she already knew it was trouble. She picked up the top sheet, her hands steady at first. Then her eyes widened, her mouth fell open, and she screamed, "Abigail, what is this?" The paper shook in her grip as she read aloud, "Notice to vacate. 30 days to leave the premises." Her voice cracked shrill enough to rattle the windows. "You're selling the house. You're kicking us out." My dad rushed in, his robe half-tied, his face creased with confusion. "What's going on?" he demanded, snatching another copy. He scanned it, his jaw tightening. "This is your house, Abigail, but we're your family. You can't do this." I leaned back in my chair, my heart pounding but my voice calm. "I can," I said. "The deed's in my name. The mortgage is mine. You've been living here for free, and I'm done." Lindsay stormed in next, her hair a mess, her eyes blazing. She grabbed the last letter, read it, and threw it down. "You're pathetic," she spat. "All this over a stupid party." I stood up, my gaze locked on hers. "It's not about the party," I said. "It's about you taking my money, my home, my life, and acting like it's yours." My mom's face turned red, her voice rising to a shriek. "After everything we've done for you," she yelled, tearing her letter in half, the pieces fluttering to the floor. "We raised you. We gave you a home." I didn't flinch. "You've been living in my home," I said. "I've paid every bill, every mortgage payment, while you spent my savings on Lindsay." My dad stepped forward, his hands raised, trying his usual peacemaker routine. "Let's calm down," he said. "We can talk this out. We're family." I shook my head, my voice steady. "You had years to talk," I said. "You chose to take instead. This ends now." Lindsay laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. "You're jealous," she said. "You can't stand that I'm going to Stanford, that I'm actually making something of myself." I met her eyes, unflinching. "You're going nowhere if you think my money's paying for it," I said. My mom lunged for the remaining letters, trying to grab them off the table. "This is my house too," she shouted. "You can't just throw us out." I stepped in front of her, my voice cold. "It's not your house," I said. "It's mine, and I've got the paperwork to prove it." The front door opened and Kyle walked in, his keys jingling in his hand. I'd texted him to come over, knowing I'd need backup. He took one look at the scene, my mom's red face, the torn paper, Lindsay's glare, and stepped beside me. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "It's fine," I said, handing him a copy of the letter. He read it quickly, his jaw tightening, then looked at my mom. "This is Abigail's call," he said. "She's been more than fair." My mom turned on him, her voice venomous. "This is none of your business," she snapped. Kyle didn't back down. "It's her house," he said. "Her money. Her decision." Lindsay rolled her eyes, muttering, "You're both ridiculous." I ignored her, turning to my laptop. "I'm meeting my lawyer tomorrow," I told them. "She's pulling the deed, the mortgage records, everything. This is happening." My dad tried one last time, his voice low, almost pleading. "Think about what you're doing, Abigail," he said. "Kicking out your own family. That's cold." I looked at him, my resolve unshaken, taking my money without asking. "That's colder?" I said. My mom started crying, loud, dramatic sobs, but I didn't budge. I opened my laptop, pulled up my mortgage account, and started downloading documents, proof of every payment I'd made, every dollar that was mine. Kyle sat beside me, his presence steady. "You've got this," he whispered. I took a deep breath, closed my laptop, and realized I needed to get out of there. I couldn't bear to face my family anymore, not after everything they had done. Kyle's apartment was small with just one bedroom and a sofa I'd temporarily turned into a bed, but it felt like a safe haven. The next day, when I was at work hunched over spreadsheets in my cubicle at the accounting firm, Raymond, my coworker, slid his phone toward me. "Abigail, you need to see this," he said, his voice low, almost apologetic. I opened Facebook and my stomach twisted. Lindsay had posted publicly, "My sister's kicking our family out because she's jealous of my Stanford acceptance. She's selfish, heartless, and ruining our lives." 80 likes, 30 comments, all tearing into me, friends calling me cold, vindictive, a disgrace to family. My hands shook, my face hot. The office felt smaller, the hum of keyboards and phones drowned out by whispers from the break room. Colleagues glanced my way, their eyes curious, judgmental. Lindsay's post wasn't just a jab, it was a public attack poisoning my reputation at work in our town. I wanted to call her, scream at her, but I was surrounded by coworkers, their stares heavy. I texted Kyle a screenshot. "Lindsay's trashing me online," I wrote. He replied instantly, "Come to the coffee shop after work. We'll figure it out." I nodded to myself, trying to focus on my spreadsheets, but the words blurred, Lindsay's lies echoing in my head. At the coffee shop, Kyle was waiting, his laptop open, a cup of black coffee in hand. "She's trying to turn everyone against you," he said, scrolling through the post. "But you've got the truth on your side." He pulled up my bank statements, $20,000 for Lindsay's tuition, $6,000 more for her applications and travel, all taken without my permission. He'd also saved a bank receipt showing a direct payment to Stanford's admissions office from my account. "This proves they used your money," he said, copying the files to a USB drive. "You can show the world she's lying." I nodded, my anger sharpening into focus. Lindsay's post wasn't going to break me. It was proof I was right to sell the house. I called my lawyer from the coffee shop, her number on speed dial. "Lindsay's spreading lies about me online," I said, sending her the screenshot. "She's calling me selfish, but they took $26,000 from my savings." My lawyer's voice was steady. "Her post is damaging," she said. "We can use the financial evidence to back up your eviction notice and counter her claims if needed." I didn't want a public fight, but I needed to protect myself. "Keep the evidence ready," I told her. "I want the sale to go through without their interference." She agreed, confirming the eviction notice was legally sound, backed by my ownership of the house. Back at Kyle's apartment, we went through the evidence again. He pulled up the bank receipt, matching it to the statements. "They can't deny this," he said, his voice firm. "You paid for their lives, and they turned on you." I leaned back on his couch, the weight of Lindsay's post still heavy but fueling my resolve. I called Lindsay, my voice cold, steady. "I saw your Facebook post," I said. "You're lying about me. Take it down." She laughed, sharp and bitter. "Why should I?" she said. "People deserve to know what you're doing to us." I gripped the phone, my knuckles pale. "You're living in my house using my money," I said. "Take it down or everyone will see the truth about you." She scoffed. "You're pathetic," she said, then hung up. I sat back, my heart racing, but not with doubt, with certainty. Lindsay's refusal to back down only made me surer. Selling the house wasn't just about money, it was about cutting them out of my life. The next day at the office, Raymond approached again, his face uneasy. "People are still talking about the post," he said. "It's getting around." I felt a pang of embarrassment, but I straightened up. "Let them talk," I said. "I know the truth." I emailed my lawyer the bank receipt and statements, asking her to keep them on file. She replied, confirming the house sale was on track with no legal challenges from my family. That evening at Kyle's, I felt lighter. His apartment, with its warm lights and quiet comfort, was a world away from my family's drama. I opened my laptop, checked the lawyer's latest email, and saw she'd prepared a response to any potential pushback from my parents or Lindsay. Kyle sat beside me, his hand on mine. "You're almost there," he said, his voice soft but strong. "They can't stop you now." I nodded, a small smile breaking through. Lindsay's post, her lies, her attack. They weren't chains anymore. They were the final push I needed to let go to sell that house, to start over. The 30-day deadline passed quickly. I drove back to the Fort Wayne house to make sure they had moved out. The street was quiet, the driveway empty except for a beat-up moving truck parked crookedly. My neighbor Martha had texted me the day before. "They're packing, but it's messy. Looks like they're not happy." I didn't respond. I didn't need their approval. I just needed my house back, my life back. I stepped out of my car, my heart steady, ready to close this chapter. The front door was unlocked, the house eerily silent. My mom, my dad, and Lindsay had left, but not without a final jab. The living room was a mess, trash bags stuffed with old clothes, a broken lamp in the corner, and a smear of marker on the wall. Jagged lines spelling out "Thanks, Abigail." The sarcasm stung, but I didn't flinch. They'd tried to leave their mark, to make me clean up one last time. I wouldn't. I called my realtor Ellen and told her about the mess. "I'll handle it," she said. "The buyers still want the house." I nodded, relieved. This wasn't my problem anymore. I walked through the rooms, the floors creaking under my steps. The kitchen, once cluttered with my mom's dishes and Lindsay's half-finished coffee cups, was bare, except for a pile of junk in the sink, empty takeout containers, a cracked mug. They'd left it for me to deal with, a petty parting shot. I took photos, sent them to Ellen, and told her to bill the cleaning to the sale. My parents and Lindsay thought they could guilt me even now. They were wrong. I'd paid for this house, every mortgage payment, every utility bill, and I wasn't their maid anymore. Ellen had worked fast. The house went on the market 2 weeks ago, priced at $260,000, competitive for Fort Wayne. We'd had 3 offers in days, and I'd picked a young family eager to start fresh. Just like me. I'd signed the closing papers at Ellen's office yesterday, my hand steady as I handed over the deed. The money, minus the mortgage, hit my account this morning. I stood in the empty living room, the walls echoing with silence, and felt a weight lift. This house wasn't my home anymore. It was a chain I'd broken. Kyle pulled up in his truck, his smile bright as he stepped out. "They're gone?" he asked, glancing at the trash bags. I nodded. "And the house is sold," I said. He wrapped an arm around me, his warmth grounding. "You're free," he said, his voice soft but sure. I leaned into him, the cool October air brushing my skin. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened, like I could breathe without their expectations pressing down on me. We spent the afternoon packing my things, clothes, a few books, my laptop. The rest, old furniture, kitchen stuff I'd donated or sold with the house. It didn't matter. I wasn't tied to this place anymore. By dusk, my car was loaded and Kyle's truck carried the rest. We were moving to Indianapolis, a new city, a new chapter. I'd landed a senior accounting job there, a step up with better pay. Kyle had a contract with an engineering firm nearby, and we'd rented a small apartment together, a place with hardwood floors and a balcony overlooking the city. As we drove away, the Fort Wayne house shrank in the rearview mirror. I didn't feel regret or sadness, just relief. The sunset painted the sky gold, and I let out a breath I'd been holding for too long. Kyle reached over, his hand finding mine. "You okay?" he asked, his eyes on the road. I smiled, a real smile, not forced. "I'm good," I said. "Really good." The radio played softly, the road stretching toward Indianapolis, its lights flickering in the distance. When we reached the apartment, it was dark, but we didn't care. We hauled in the essentials, my suitcase, Kyle's toolbox, a box of dishes, and stood in the bare living room. It was small, simple, with blank walls and a view of the city skyline, but it was ours. I walked to the balcony, the city buzzing below, and felt a quiet joy. I didn't have to carry my family's weight anymore, didn't have to fix their messes. I was done being invisible. It's been a year since I left Fort Wayne behind, and standing here in Indianapolis, I can finally say, I'm home. My new life feels like a dream I didn't know I could have. I'm a senior accountant now, leading a small team at a firm downtown. The work is challenging, but I love it, managing projects, mentoring new hires, building something that's mine. Last month, Kyle and I got married in a small, cozy ceremony at a park near our apartment. Just close friends, a few coworkers, and a sunset that turned the sky pink. I wore a simple white dress, and Kyle couldn't stop smiling as we exchanged vows. It wasn't flashy, but it was ours, and every moment felt right. I haven't spoken to my family since they left my old house. I don't follow their lives, but word gets around. Martha, my neighbor from Fort Wayne, texted me a few months ago. She'd heard through mutual friends that my parents were struggling renting a cramped apartment in a nearby town, barely covering bills. Lindsay, she said, dropped out of Stanford after a semester, couldn't afford the costs without my support. She's working part-time at a coffee shop now, still posting about her big plans online, but nobody buys it anymore. I don't feel joy hearing this, but I don't feel guilt either. They made their choices just like I made mine. The truth about Lindsay's Facebook post came out not long after I moved. Raymond, my old coworker, called me one day, his voice light. "People know you were right," he said. He'd overheard colleagues talking at the firm, piecing together what happened. Someone had seen the bank records my lawyer shared with a mutual acquaintance, proof that my family took $26,000 from my savings. The gossip shifted. Lindsay's post, once a wildfire, fizzled out. Her friends stopped commenting, and some even unfollowed her. Martha said the neighborhood knew, too. My parents' excuses didn't hold up once people saw the real story. I didn't have to say a word. My actions, my choice to walk away, spoke for me. I think about that post sometimes, how it was meant to break me. It didn't. It pushed me to stand taller, to build a life where I'm not someone's backup plan. Kyle's been my rock through it all, not just as my husband, but as the one who saw me when my family didn't. Our apartment is small, with creaky floors and a tiny balcony, but it's filled with laughter, late-night talks, and plans for the future. I'm not carrying anyone else's weight anymore. I'm not cleaning up their messes. I'm just living for me. Looking back, I see it clearly now. Family isn't about who you're tied to by blood. It's about who respects you, who lifts you up. I spent years thinking I had to earn their love, that I had to give until I had nothing left. I was wrong. I learned to set boundaries, to choose myself, and it's made all the difference. I'm happier than I've ever been, not because of where I am, but because of who I've become. If you've ever had to walk away from family to find yourself, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story.